From Columbia, in high definition, this is WIS News 10 Awareness.
It is believed that
48 bells for 48 victims of deadly criminal domestic violence in 2012. Of that number, 39 were women. A sobering reminder of why South Carolina ranks #1 in the nation in the rate of women who die at the hands of men. Thank you for joining us for Awareness. I'm your host, Megan Norman. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and each year, those who lost their lives the year before are remembered at a special ceremony at the State House. It's called Silent Witness. One victim's daughter was there and hopes more victims will seek help.
I lost my mother a year ago on this very day. I found out that her live-in boyfriend shot her in the head, and then he also committed suicide afterwards. She was trying to leave him.
there were 48 homicides in 2012, 39 women, 9 men. Kathleen Key, 54 years old, Richland County.
It seems unreal that, they're calling out my mother's name and that this happened to my mom, and just a perspective that it can happen to anyone, and that it's not just a certain, race or, socioeconomic status. It's pervasive. It's through all, different areas of life.
I was severely beaten with a baseball bat and strangled. It's just getting that courage to make that first step. That's the hardest part. I'm a survivor. I'm alive. So one thing that I can do is to give back to my community in honor of them, those that were not as fortunate as I was.
I think if we can get the word out that there's organizations that are there to help you, if you're in an abusive relationship, I think that would be a big help.
It's just getting that courage to make that first step. That's the hardest part.
Today, we have the ability as agents of change at an individual and societal level to hopefully one day make this ceremony obsolete.
I just miss just the little things, calling and chatting with her and spending time with her. There's a bond with a mother is different than, any other type of bond. And I definitely think she would be proud of me and my brother for being here today. Definitely.
Domestic violence knows no race, age, or socioeconomic status. Last month, the Violence Policy Center ranked South Carolina #1 in the nation for the rate of women killed by men. One of the factors is 63% of the victims were wives, ex-wives, or girlfriends. Joining us with more on this disturbing trend is Nancy Barton from Sister Care, the Executive Director of Sister Care, and Sarah Barber from the Domestic Abuse Center. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Very sobering statistic. Very sobering statistic. And Nancy, you work with the victims with your organization.
Yes, Sister Care serves domestic violence victims in the Midlands area, and I think people typically associate us with a shelter, but we actually serve many more women and children in what we call our community-based services. It's such a significant step for an individual to leave their home, take children out of school, daycare, and come to an emergency shelter. So there's full range and array of other services we think are probably some of the most helpful ways to make some changes.
And Sarah, you work with the abusers in your center.
We do. We have a 6-month program where offenders can come and participate and learn to become accountable for the harmful behaviors they've used in the past and learn new, healthier ways as they move forward in those existing relationships or in future relationships.
Now, do those abusers come to you on their own, or are they court-ordered?
Unfortunately, people do not like to come to this realization by themselves, and over 95% of our participants are court-ordered, and it often takes that court mandate and the threat of jail or further legal action to keep people in the program.
Now, when we look at this statistic of going to #1 from #2 last year, what are some of the reasons why we climbed up?
What we've been studying the rate of women killed by men for 16 years, and South Carolina, all 16 years, has been in the top 9 of all states. This is our 3rd year of being first, and so to me, it says we have a significant problem. It's not being addressed effectively, but there's really been little change. And to me, being number 7 or 3 or 1 makes little difference when you're looking at the children that are surviving a mother being killed. But I think it's complex. In part, South Carolina has a violent culture, and there seems to be attitudes and beliefs around this. The use of violence is a way to resolve issues and address issues, if we're talking about pet abuse or child fatality or domestic violence. And then if perpetrators of domestic violence aren't held accountable and there aren't consequences and treatment and we don't have a tight system to respond, we're really telling and training them that you can get away with this private act in your home. What you can't do, perhaps, at a pharmacy, a grocery store, your bank.
Right. Well, we actually do have a local story that speaks exactly to your point. It was a Lexington County woman who was attacked with a box cutter. She was run over with a car, and she barely escaped with her life. And she says it was all at the hands of her husband. These are pictures of Kristen Shawver taken from her hospital bed back in April. She made the decision to stay with her husband many times in the past because of her son. She bravely decided to tell me her story of survival and as a warning to other women. So tell me exactly what she means to you.
Out my life, I would risk my life for her. She means a lot to me, and that she's very nice to me. She loves me.
To the women out there that are allowing it to happen, you need to get out now. Don't wait like I did because you think you have a child. It does more damage to your child than you think.
Now, Kristen is exhibiting just one of the reasons why many victims stay with their abusers, because they have children involved. What are some of the other reasons why women stay?
Economics is one of the greatest reasons. She knows if she doesn't have safe housing, income, employment, daycare, transportation, she's not going to make it, and the abuser knows that as well. And so often we see that the money and economics keep a woman in the abusive relationship until she can get income, housing. And what we see at Sister Care is women do become safe and do make changes. But the reality of the situation is when women leave or talk about leaving, that's the time they're killed. I mean, if we listen to media, it's the former girlfriend of, former wife of, estranged. So it's a very dangerous time. So I think it's dangerous for us as service providers and advocates to promote leaving unless there's a safety plan, unless that victim has really found a way to keep herself and her children safe through services. But we've got to have the other piece, the Sarah Barber piece at Domestic Abuse Center. You've got to focus on the perpetrator.
Right. And Sarah, sometimes women say, well, he apologized and we're going to work things out. I'm going to stay. And oftentimes that's not the case. The abuser will do it again. So how does your center actually work with these abusers to cut down on that cycle of abuse?
What we try and do is really hold people accountable. There's the court piece where if they don't complete the program, we immediately notify the courts that they haven't done so, and so there can be further consequences for them not doing what the court had told them to do. But although we work very hard to bring people to a level of accountability and learn new skills, it is still important to remember that the ultimate responsibility has to be that person incorporating that fully into their lives. And really the program is the beginning of that process. If you fully commit to this, you're working on this for the rest of your life to improve your behaviors in your family and to make sure that everybody is safe.
Without giving specifics, what are some of the reasons these abusers say they commit these acts of violence?
The population we deal with is very diverse with regards to level of dangerousness, for reasons they may do things, and for their ability to change. A lot of people come into the program blaming their wife or girlfriend for the abuse. She provoked me, she was nagging me. And we work with people to see that they can only control themselves and that it is their responsibility not to react abusively in those situations.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. We've only just begun to brush the topic of this very, very vast and very problematic trend that we're seeing here in our state. So thank you for shedding some light on this.
So appreciate you addressing this.
Thank you.
Well, coming up, law enforcement, they're usually the first on the scene of a domestic violence case. They have to sort through the verbal and nonverbal clues to find out what really happened. Coming up after the break, we'll talk about how officers are trained to deal with these very sensitive situations.
Have you been hurt on the job? Who you hire matters. I'm Holly Atkins, and I served as chairman of the South Carolina Workers' Compensation Commission, and I know how to represent people who've been hurt on the job. At the Atkins Law Firm, we walk our clients through the claims process with knowledge and respect. If you've been hurt on the job, call me, because who you hire matters.
The Brooks family has been approved for financing at DriveTime.com and is holding a meeting to talk about what vehicle to buy.
I'm going to die without this car.
Karen made a logical argument for a sporty Acura.
This is the end of the world.
Eli lost his voting privileges at last week's What Happened to the Cat meeting. And Lulu simply wants two alligators who will love each other forever. After a test drive, the Ford Edge won their hearts. DriveTime. We bring people and cars together. Find and finance your perfect vehicle at DriveTime.com.
Real customers are discovering the real benefits of Cartridge World.
Cartridge World, in my opinion, is better quality.
Bottom line, this is a great way to save money.
One huge savings from Cartridge World. It's nice doing business with a company that stands behind their product 100%.
They provide quality customer service.
And the free pickup and delivery is awesome.
We love Cartridge World.
Yeah.
For printer supplies, printer repair, or printer replacement, call 736-2992 today.
Why pay more to print?
In 1922, archaeologists discovered the fabulous wealth of King Tut's tomb, the greatest archaeological find of all time. Thrilled to 124 perfect replicas of the Boy King's amazing possessions in the State Museum's stunning new blockbuster, Tutankhamun, Return of the King recreates Tut's chariot, golden shrines, thrones and jewelry, spectacular funerary mask, and royal mummy. Don't miss Tutankhamun, Return of the King at the South Carolina State Museum.
You don't understand. He has a history of beating me up. He's been arrested for assaulting me.
This is a simulation, but one that plays out in homes daily sometimes. Cadets at the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy spend nearly 100 hours getting into the minds of domestic violence victims and abusers. It's all to help officers handle these situations when they see them on the streets. Joining us now is Captain Lancy Weeks. She works with the victims with the Richland County Sheriff's Department. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Now, when officers and deputies first arrive on scene, they don't usually know what they're going to get into, but what is the first thing they normally do when they arrive?
When an officer arrives at a scene of a domestic violence, they want to determine the location of the victim and the suspect. They want to know if the victim has sustained any injuries, so that they can call for medical assistance for her. They want to know if there's a weapon involved, and if so, where is that weapon? And that is for the safety of the officer and also for the safety of the victim. They will want to interview the suspect and the victim separately, and they'll want to do that out of the view of the suspect.
And why is that?
They want to do that because the suspect will try to intimidate the victim. So the officer will want to either move the victim to another room within the home. If the assault occurred outdoors, then they're going to move that victim to the other side of the house, out of the view of that perpetrator. And also, if you can, out of hearing range, because he may be shouting things like, I'm going to beat you up, I'm going to take the children from you, or if he is in her sight, then he may just give her a glare. And two, if she's a former victim of domestic violence, she's been assaulted before, so she knows that something bad may happen to her.
Right. And when they get on scene, that interviewing part is so crucial because they have to determine who exactly is the victim and who exactly is the abuser.
Right. Sometimes an officer will arrive on the scene and you may have both parties that are combatants, and so they will need to determine which one is the primary aggressor. And some of the things that they do to try to determine that is one party in fear of the other party? Does one party have defense wounds? Did one party slap one party and then that person ends up beating that other person? Right. So those are just some of the examples that they use to try to determine who the primary aggressor is.
And looking at the injuries, then they can determine what the charge is going to be, whether it will be a criminal domestic violence charge or an assault charge, correct?
Exactly.
And I know we have a list of who qualifies for a criminal domestic violence charge. If you're a household member, that would be a spouse, a former spouse, if they share a child together, if they live together, or formerly have lived together. If they don't fit that criteria, then they get the assault charge.
That's
correct?
Right. That is correct.
And you work specifically with the victims, so what are some of the things you do to help them escape that situation?
On a domestic violence scene, the officer may call the victim advocate out to the scene, and we would transport that victim to a shelter for safety, provide her with a meal, with clothing. We have care packages at our office with toiletry items for the victim, along with clothing for her and her children. If it's a situation where the children are also abused in the home, then we may place those children in emergency protective custody at that time.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. A very difficult topic, and I'm sure very difficult once you actually get on scene and have to deal with these victims.
Yes, and thank you for bringing awareness to it.
Sure. Well, domestic violence is not just happening in homes, it's also happening on college campuses. After the break, a USC violence coordinator joins us with more on why the current laws are not broad enough to protect the co-eds.
Colon cancer starts with a polyp that does not cause symptoms until it's already cancerous. A colonoscopy can detect and remove these growths before they cause cancer. For more, contact South Carolina Medical Endoscopy or go to WISTV.com and click on Health.
My name is Jeff Bowen. This is my real true story. My accident happened right here on Augusta Road, and wham, I was hurt. I called George right away, and he started working right away.
I'm attorney George Sink. Whether you've been hurt in a car wreck in Sumter, Orangeburg, right here in downtown Columbia, or anywhere in the Midlands, call me on your cell phone at ** Sink.
It's ¡easy to call George. Just call ** Sink. George Sink got me $75,000.
Hurt in a car wreck? Call me at ** Sink. I'll work hard to get you all the money you deserve.
Do you have unexpected bills? Need cash now? Let Title Max turn your car title into cash. With Title Max, get $1,000, $3,000, $6,000, even $10,000. Title Max gets you the most cash, the lowest rates, with instant approval. Your car title is your credit, and Title Max gets you the cash you need in 30 minutes or less. So if you need help paying your bills, bring your car title to Title Max, and you too will say, I got my title back with Title Max.
Welcome to What Would You Pay? Tell us the non-sale price and you win.
$3.49.
We asked for the non-sale price.
But with CouponBug.com, you can choose from up to 250 coupons and print them right at home.
Looks like we have a winner. What would you pay? CouponBug.com.
The internet's slow again.
I am really freaking out about having another kid.
Why, you're a great father.
It's not that. It's that one more person would be sharing our internet. AT&T DSL is already slow.
Well, they are the phone company.
With Time Warner Cable, you can power all of your family's devices at the same time with internet that's not limited like DSL.
If your internet's slow, it's time to rethink AT&T. Call 1-855-1TWC to get internet for as little as $19.99 a month. Ask how you can upgrade and get a $300 Visa reward card. Time Warner Cable. Enjoy better.
We talked about who can be charged with criminal domestic violence. That person has to be a household member. But in many cases, there are abusers who fall outside of that definition. With us now is Michelle Eichelberger, who works at USC with the Student Health Services. You are an interpersonal violence coordinator. So explain what you do at USC.
Well, I am on call 24 hours a day for any student that's a victim of any form of interpersonal violence. So we respond to sexual assault, relationship violence, harassment, stalking, and hate crimes on campus for students, faculty, and staff.
Okay, so if there's a boyfriend and girlfriend on campus and violence ensues with that relationship, that abuser can only be charged with assault.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And what do you tell the clientele that you work with in terms of alleviating violence in situations like that?
Well, we do a whole bunch of different awareness and education campaigns on campus to make people aware of what domestic violence and relationship violence is, because a lot of these students are coming in and these are some of their very first relationships, so they really don't know the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships. So we try to do a lot of education and awareness on campus to even just make them aware that the situations that they're in is not normal healthy behavior.
Is there a high likelihood, or do you see a lot of cases of domestic violence with these college campuses?
I would say we see a lot of unhealthy behaviors. A lot of our students do things that people would do. It's easy on a college campus because they have the same patterns, the same behaviors. It's almost like living in a really small community within a community.
Sure.
So a lot of them have the same schedules every day, so it's easy for people to track their whereabouts and keep track of them that way. They're away from home. A lot of them are isolated from family members and support systems. So the friends that they meet on campus, whether they're good friends or bad friends, are all they have.
Do you think the law as it stands now, as far as CDV is concerned, needs to be expanded to include dating violence?
I definitely do. We have a very large population of people that are not included in the criminal domestic violence law. Same-sex couples, as well as people that are only dating and don't live together. And those people are drastically affected. The statistics are showing that the people that are at risk are starting as early as 8th grade.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for giving us some of your insight on maybe a perspective we don't see very often, but we know it happens on college campuses.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. When awareness returns, the most important part of our show, how to get out, the steps to safety if you find yourself in a desperate situation.
So what's this catch?
Really? You think you're the first to lay that one on me?
I'm sorry.
No, let's get it out there. Again. Honestly, I don't know where that came from. I'm not the conflicted sort. I never have been. I mean, look, everybody gets in a tight spot now and then. But I'm a stranger to the whole rock in a hard place thing. Just ask the players. I'll tell you, I am all about the win-win, baby.
5 number games, withdrawing 7 nights a week.
The accident wasn't your fault, but now you're having to fight to get your car fixed. Your medical bills are piling up, and you haven't been able to work since the accident. It's all happening so fast, and you're not sure what to do.
If you've been in a serious car or motorcycle accident and you feel like you need someone on your side, call the lawyers at Nickel & Bass.
At Nickel & Bass, it won't cost you anything to see if we can help.
If you've been in a serious car or motorcycle accident, call Nickel & Bass today.
Monday, the biggest game changer in voice history is back.
We got a steal!
The reunited coaches take the steal to a whole new level.
Adam, you screwed up so bad.
Then,
what do you know?
He's an absolute snake.
They're after the one blacklister other blacklisters fear most, and now he's taken Agent Keen.
If you let him slip away, you'll never see her again.
NBC's The Blacklist is all new after The Voice, starting at 8/7 Central. You must see Monday on NBC.
I was happy-go-lucky until the day that I got wounded. That changed everything.
Hope for the Warriors assists soldiers suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD.
PTSD is a nightmare. If you don't get used to it, you just deal with it. You can be fine one minute, gone the next.
If it wasn't for the treatment and him actually going through it, I don't think there would have been a chance at us ever surviving.
Our Warriors need your help. Please donate to Hope for the Warriors today.
Welcome back. Leaving is not easy, but many women are able to get out. But to do that, you have to prepare. Back with more on how to make a safety plan is Nancy Barton with Sister Care. So preparation, that really is the key.
I'm so glad you're talking about preparation, because so often I will hear people say, she just needs to leave. She just needs to leave in the middle of the night. And that's not realistic for most women and women with children. And so making such a significant life change is a process, Megan, and we say if the victim can talk with a counselor and advocate, make plans, particularly around safety issues, but really all sorts of life issues about how they're going to support the family, where they can find affordable housing, employment. So if they can make that first call to Sister Care's 24-hour-a-day crisis line and talk with an advocate about safety planning and services, advocacy, counseling, but we need to caution too about just abruptly leaving, because that absolutely is the most dangerous time.
Right. And what are some of the specifics? I know on your website you talk about opening a bank account in your name, leaving some extra money and an extra set of keys around.
Yes, it's some of those practical things like making sure neighbors know or family know about the situation, and perhaps having code words that you would be able to call quickly after calling law enforcement, of course, first, to be able to get some sort of help and assistance. And then the practical things like making sure you have copies of documents, extra set of keys set somewhere hidden, clothes, medications, the practical sorts of things. We always advise be careful to stay away from rooms with only one entrance exit, rooms where there are going to be potential weapons, that sort of thing. And we go through a number of different ideas and recommendations so that they can be planful about it.
But to do that, to make that plan, they first mentally have to make the decision, I'm going to leave.
What we find is women so often calling and saying, what can I do to be safe? And it's such an extreme step, Megan, to go to a shelter or to leave, and it's just most effective when there is some preparation and planning.
Well, Nancy, we want to give people the number to the hotline so they can call and get out. Awareness, of course, does not stop the violence or the cycle of abuse, but it is one very important step in the process. If you are in an abusive relationship, you can get out. You can call Sister Care's 24-hour hotline number 765-9428. We want to thank Sister Care, USC, the Domestic Abuse Center, and the Richland County Sheriff's Department for all of the insight today. Until next time, I'm Megan Norman.